Hello and welcome back to SML Primetime, the Commissioner's Podcast of the Sim Madden League. I am Primetime 000. Let's get our 10-minute timer started and let's talk SML football. Starting off with Dan He. He doesn't have a Simbardi this cycle yet, but this could possibly be the season. This could possibly be the time. He's been there twice already, but the way he's played the last 4 or 5 games, dismantling Eddie, dismantling Bomber, putting up 50 points on Bomber, blowing out KP. He looks like, I think he shut out Trick as well. I mean, he is playing some of the best SML football I've seen him play in his SML career. And a lot of people are wondering if it isn't this season, it'll never be, because there's going to be this summer where Dan kind of takes a dip. So he's got to find a way to win. And the way he's playing, I mean, it just seems like it's got to be his time. And as I look at this, and I asked Bomber in chat, and he said, hey, it was a regular season. I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in the way Dan's playing right now. But I think if you're in the AFC, you've got to keep an eye on this. Is Dan playing too good too early in the regular season? And is he kind of showing his hand a little bit? That could be possible. I did say on this show that KP is going to be the AFC representative, and I'm going to stick to it. I think KP is still going to be the AFC representative, but in order, the most likely in the AFC to make it, KP 1, Dan 2, Bomber 3. That's my list. Now, let's move on to somebody else who I want to talk about. QP, another legend in the SML. Or so we thought. Multi-time Simbardi winner. Great player, competitive player. He's had some great teams in his SML career with Set Feet lead with the Chargers. Obviously got the Lions, and he traded for Herbert, who had Omaha. He is now had the Chiefs with Set Feet lead. Loses Set Feet lead, trades it to Matt, maybe out of confidence or ego, and then now he's got 3 wins or something, and one of them was a forced win. Loses to Fins. QP in his return, in my opinion, is tainting his legacy a little bit with the modern era guys. I mean, QP was kind of dominant against maybe some of the leftover Plummer era guys. I know Grams was still in the league when QP was in. Future was still in the league. Obviously, some guys who were good once upon a time. Now he's in this modern era, like Cars 3, where Lightning McQueen had to race Jackson Storm, and he's just not keeping up at all. He's playing poorly, and he's hurting his legacy. I liken this to Floyd Mayweather is going to fight Manny Pacquiao here in September and put his undefeated record on the line, and it will taint his legacy a little bit. It'll take some of the, even though it's a different era, it'll still, even that he's at an accelerated age, it'll still, Floyd Mayweather won't have that 50-0 record. He'll have a loss if he loses to Manny, and I fear QP is entering that territory. So he's got to find it out. He has got to find this out, and he's got to make a Simbardi this cycle. Because let's face the facts. This Chiefs team is a good team. They're loaded. Look at that roster. They are loaded. There's no excuse why Q's playing badly. It just is the truth. Let's talk about top players, though. And that was a big topic the other day. Obviously, Dan and Matt went back and forth on Total Access. It got brought up in chat. Here's my opinion, as I've had some time to think about it. Dan says that multiple playoff appearances matters. I agree. Consistency matters. Super Bowls, like Matt says, matters. And here's where Dan used a manipulation tactic in the Matt-Dan debate. And I want you, Matt-Dan debate, yeah. Dan said regarding why he should be ahead of KP on the list is because if you are picking top 5 or top 10 in the draft and have one good Simbardi season, then you don't deserve to be above him on the list. Well, Dan, that may or may not, that's an arguable point, but that's not reality in our debate today. Our debate today is, yes, KP missed the playoffs 3 times, but it was by a game or 2 each time. KP was never a top 5 draft pick. KP was constantly in the playoff argument, constantly in the playoff debate. So making up some scenario that isn't true, I'm a guy that likes facts. I'm a guy that goes off what is what it is. And the reality is this. Yes, KP missed a season playoffs 3 times, but he was always close. And he won a Simbardi, and he beat 20-0. What have you done? Yes, you made it consistently to the playoffs 3 times. Every time, but you didn't win a Super Bowl. KP didn't have a Wood cycle. KP didn't have a Matt cycle. Your argument at Matt is diminishing his Simbardis from the past. Nothing for the present. You got to change your point if you want to prove a point, Dan. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of greatness, top players under the radar. Anybody talking about Tug? Tug the rope? 11-1? One loss in that tough AFC. Week 1 loss to Bomber, and many people say that week 1s don't even count. Tug the rope could possibly be a guy that I listed the top 3 in the AFC, and I didn't even include Tug. He's right there nipping on Bombers and Dan's and KP's heels as a Super Bowl contender in that conference. I wouldn't have believed it. I thought Raider fan was going to run away with that division. Raider fans possibly going to miss the playoffs back-to-back seasons. The code on that cover 4 might be cracked. And the under-the-radar guy could be Tug the Rope in the AFC. And in the NFC, they talked about him all the time. The next big thing, I'm about to play him next week, next advance. Steel Curtain, only 4 losses. Soda's out of the playoff picture. Watch out for Steel Curtain flying under the radar. Everyone expected him to be a Prime-like guy, a Dan-like guy, where week in and week out you can count him to beat the checkmark wins. He might not be that, but he could be a guy that you're going to fear in the playoffs, especially as he gets more comfortable in this league where he starts to learn everybody's tendencies. It's a lot easier for us to learn tendency on one guy than it is for one guy to learn tendencies on 32 guys or 31 guys. Think about that. Another thing I want you guys to think about is SML Madness. March Madness is here. Shout out to DW, man. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, so I don't want to say too much. But it got me thinking. Imagine if we had a 32-man basketball one-on-one tournament. Who's going to be a Cinderella and who could be a high seed that would lose? And I'll say this, and I don't even want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I was at an SML meetup, and I watched Doink and Polly play back and forth. Great competition. I'll say this. Straw would be a high seed to many of you guys. Straw's garbage on the basketball court. Straw is a terrible basketball player. He's an athletic football freak. Basketball, he's awful. I actually might be able to beat Straw number 1 in one-on-one, honestly, and I'm terrible myself. I did get triple teamed. They triple teamed me, Doink, Straw, and Tiny, and I made the right play, and we're gonna make sure we show that on the show. But Straw would be a guy that would be a high seed that would lose. A guy that I would say could maybe make some moves, and not a lot of people would expect to win is AJ. He's big, strong frame guy. I feel like he would have the fundamentals to win. I think he could be a mid-tier seed that could find himself in the Final Four. Final Four, I'm going to put Damon in there. I'm going to put Doink in there. I'm going to put, who else am I going to put in my Final Four? I'm going to go ahead. I'll put Dan in there. I know he's slow. He's out of shape, but I think he still has the heart and the skill to find a way to win. The big fundamental Dan. And fourth guy, my Final Four, I'm going to say it. I'm going to put myself in the Final Four. I don't lose. I win everything. I joined the SML College Football League, and I won with no practice. I think I'd find a way to get in the Final Four. I don't think I'd win, but I think I'd be competitive enough to get in the Final Four. That's just the truth. Scheduling in the SML. I want to talk about this because this comes up every now and then as we have like 8-9 advances in a row of 24-hour advances, and then we'll have like 3 or 4 in a row of 48-hour advances, and everybody goes crazy about it. I'm all for people getting their games played and not skipping games just because they're the last game. That's my honest truth. I think it's important games get played. I also think there's a fine line, and I've said this many times, there's a fine line in people having busy schedules and people being selfless and setting their ego and pride aside and looking at the greater good of a 32-man league and saying, hey, maybe I can move my schedule or adjust this 30 minutes, even if it slightly inconveniences me to get the league to advance a little earlier or to advance it a day early, or especially if I'm the last game or one of the last 2 games. And I think there's about 3 to 4 guys in the league that are unwilling to, at times, inconvenience themselves. And I think that's what people feel in scheduling, and I think that's what's lost. Is I'm not asking you to prioritize a Madden league over your family, over your job, over your kids, over important priorities, your love life, your relationships. But I think that in all good relationships, in all, whether that's at work, your romantic life, friendships, sometimes you have to make a sacrifice for the greater good of it. And hey, I don't really care to play this game right after I eat food, but I'm going to do it so we can advance a little earlier for the guy. Stuff like that. That's all I think that you should consider. I got 22 seconds. It's commish time. Another thing I want to talk about is this. DW. I'm taking the SML commissioner time to talk about DW. This boy is putting in work on SML March Madness. Over a $400 giveaway to first prize, I think. DW put in work. We got 32 of 32 participation on the SML March Madness bracket. DW, thanks for what you do. SML, you know what the standard is. Thanks for watching.